Hi, my name is Riz, and today we'll learn how to use Google Sheets. Google Sheets is a software provided by Google that is absolutely free to use, and over time you can collect data into this tool and then eventually get some meaningful insights by doing some analysis. This is the first video of the 3-video series where we will help you get started on everything you need to know about Google Sheets. Whether you're a complete beginner or you just need a refresher, this video would be super helpful to you. To make it even more helpful for you, there are timestamps in this video that you'll find in the description that you can use to navigate through different sections, and you can come back to get a refresher again. The second video will discuss some more advanced things such as conditional formatting and stuff. You don't need to worry about those things right now. And then eventually we'll end up with the advanced version of using Google Sheets, which has some very core analytical capabilities that we will explore. Since this is a beginner's video, it might feel overwhelming to you about the different things we'll discuss. I'll try to make sure they are as simple to understand as possible, but if you feel overwhelmed, just put your laptop aside, come and revisit this video. Or you can also use specific sections in the timestamps to learn one specific thing about Google Sheets and then come back at a later time to navigate through the rest of the video. And this video will help you get started on Google Sheets. What exactly is it? How to access it? Some very basic navigation, some very basic formulas, and then eventually we will end the beginner's video on how to collaborate using Google Sheets with other people. So let's get started. So in order to get started with Google Sheets, all you have to do is access this page. So you type into your browser google.com and this is where you will see yourself. Now, in order to access Google Sheets, you can go either to the top right corner and click on this icon. And from here, you can search for Google Sheets. So if you go down below, you would see Google Sheets. You can also move it around if you want to keep it somewhere up top, maybe over here or even somewhere over here for ease of access. For example, if I put it over here. So I click on this navigation bar and I click on Sheets and it automatically opens up this section. This is one way of accessing Google Sheets. Another way is you go to your Google Drive. So you type in drive.google.com and you hit enter. And from here on the left side, you can click on New. And then once you do that, you'll automatically see a Google Sheets option. You can click over here and this will automatically open a new Google spreadsheet for you. Coming back to this section, which we accessed from this navigation bar, you can click on a blank spreadsheet to open a blank Google Sheets. So let's do that. These are the most common ways of accessing Google Sheet. Another way of accessing Google Sheet is you just type in sheets.new and this opens up a new Google Sheet for you. So these are the 3 different ways through which you can access Google Sheet. Once you're in the Google Sheet, the first thing you want to do is look at the top left pane and name your sheet. We will name it Riz Teaching Google Sheets. Once you do that, you would see that over here it says Save to Drive. The nice thing about Google Sheets is that it automatically saves if you're connected to the internet. So once you've done that, now you have successfully accessed a Google Sheet and you've renamed it to your specific project. Now, before we dive into this basic navigation, let's understand what Google Sheet exactly is. Basically, Google Sheet is an amalgamation of different rows and columns put together for you to be able to better understand your data. So you'd see that in the left side, we have these things number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and it keeps on going until 1000, and then you can further add more rows to it. So these rows are something that we will be using a lot in Google Sheets. And then you see something number over here, which is A, B, C, D, E, F, and so on and so forth. And it also goes on until Z. And then you can add further columns as well. These are columns. So Google Sheets is essentially made up of different rows and different columns bundled together, where you enter different kind of data. Now, once you're, let's suppose, click on a random cell, you would see that you're currently in column C and row 10. You can also access the same information from this bar, C10. If you type over here B5, it'll take you to the cell B5. Most of the time, people just randomly click on different places in the sheet to access a specific cell, and then they can see the name of the cell in this top left corner. Having said that, let's explore the navigation pane a bit. Over here, you see some options which are less to do with the exact navigation of the Google Sheet itself, but more to do with the organization of the file. Below that, you'd see different options. These options are used within Google Sheets. For example, if you want to zoom in and see things in a much more zoomed in way, you click over here and you click on 150, for example, and now you see that we have zoomed in a bit into this sheet. Similarly, you'd see other options if you want to change your format to a currency or percentage or different things. All you have to do is just hover over the specific thing that you want to explore, and it'll help you understand what exactly that is. For example, over here it says default. If I exit over here, it says font, which means that if I want to change font, I just click on this and it gives me a bunch of different fonts to choose from, and I can choose whatever font I want to use. Over here you see this font size, how to change some basic things such as the formatting, such as bold, italics, strike through, things like that. Over here you see if you want to change your text color to something else other than black. Here you see if you want to change your fill color, which is, in other words, the cell color, to something. For example, if you go ahead and change this to orange, you'd see that the cell that we were in was changed to orange. If you move to, for example, this cell, which is now D3, and we want to change it to a color green, we just select green, and now the cell is turned green. Let's undo both of these things. Then we have borders. If you want to make your data formatted in a specific way, you can make use of borders. There are different kinds of borders available, different kinds of fonts within borders available, and also different kinds of drawings within borders available. We'll discuss these things in a while. You then have some basic alignment, whether you want to align it horizontally in the center or in the right. You had some more navigation about text, vertical alignment, middle alignment, so on and so forth. And then you have some links, comments, charts, filters, filter views, and formulas. Now, all of this can get very overwhelming. Rest assured that most of these things are not used altogether, and you're only using very specific things for very specific reasons. We will explore that once we actually put in some data. So this is a basic navigation. So far, we have learned how to access Google Sheets. We have explored what these rows and columns mean. We have also explored the basic tools that are within this pane that will modify the data you have within Sheets. Now, before we start entering data, let's go ahead and explore this section, which is File, Edit, View, Insert, Format, Data, Tools, Extension, and Help. This helps you with the organization of the sheet generally. So for example, if you click on File, you have a bunch of different options. You may want to print. You may want to move this to trash. You may want to rename the sheet. You may want to download it. You may want to send it as an email. You may want to share it with someone if you're collaborating with. You may want to make a copy, so on and so forth. Now, again, not all of these things are used at the same time. You may be using one or two features at a time. So don't feel overwhelmed that there is too much information to understand. Then we have Edit. This helps you copy or paste data or replace or find some different data points within the sheet. We have View, which basically helps you with the viewing of the sheet itself. It helps you with things such as grid lines. Right now you see grid lines. If I change it to Do Not Show, you see all the grid lines that were present in this data are no longer available. We'll go ahead and change that again, grid lines. So over here, again, you can go through the tool itself to see what different options are out there again, you will not be using all of them at the same time. In insert, we have inserting different cells, rows, column, a new sheet, tables, chart, pivot tables. Some of these things are advanced, so we will not get into those things in this video, but we will definitely be exploring this in the videos to come. Then we have some basic formatting, which is a little more advanced formatting than what you see over here, with things such as changing the format of a number to a number, a percentage, an accountancy type format, a date, time, currency, things like that. Again, we will get into these things once time comes. If you want to change text, if you want to change the alignment, if you want to change how it looks, if you want to change the font, and some additional things such as conditional formatting and alternating colors, which we will not discuss in this video, we'll discuss in the next video. Then we have data. Again, this is where majority of the manipulation of the data is done, through which we can draw some meaningful insights by doing some analysis. We will explore this in the third video, which is the advanced version of using Google Sheets. Then we have tools. We will not get into this at all. This is very rarely used. We may discuss this as a bonus in the third video. Extensions, again, a very advanced tool. We are not looking to explore this in this or the next of the videos. And then help section. Very helpful, can help you with searching through the menus, some basic help of Google Sheets, some trainings, and things like that. Now that we have these things sorted, let's do a summary. We learned how to access Google Sheets, we learned how to rename it, we understood this navigation pane, which is the manipulation of data within the sheet. We understood this navigation page, which has something to do with the data within the sheet and something to do with the organization of file. We understood what are rows, we understood what are columns, we understood how the data over here is compiled. So let's go ahead and actually do something with this. Let's do some very basic data entry. For example, we want to enter the data of different people who are making sales. We'll go ahead and do that. So we will enter month over here. We will enter person over here. We will enter amount over here. And we are assuming that this is the data on a monthly basis for different people who are making some sales. So we enter January 2025 and we hit enter. Now Google is smart enough to understand that once you have entered things such as January 2025, it automatically understands that it's a date. So now if I double click on it, you'd see that it has opened an automatically a date function for me, in which I can then change the date to, for example, 1st of February, and it changed to that. Then let's suppose we are entering the data of people making sale, and I'll start off with my own name. I made a sale, and I made a sale of $3,000. So what we have done right now is, for the month of February, Riz made a sale of $3,000. Now, if you see over here, this is basically a number format. We want to change it to represent the dollar amount. So this is to do with the manipulation of the formatting of this specific cell. So while this cell is selected, we'll go to format, we will go to number, and we will change it to currency. This has changed to currency. Right now it's representing 2 decimal points. We will click over here to reduce the decimal points to represent whole numbers only. 1, 2. You have 3,000. We'll enter some more data. We will enter March 2025. Kate made a sale of $1,500. Now you'd see that this still says 1,500. It does not say 3,000. For that, there are 2 things you can do. You can either select the entire column, go to format, go to number, click on currency, and then reduce the decimal place. This is one way of doing it. Another fancier way of doing the very same thing is you want to change it to a dollar currency, whereas this cell already has the dollar currency. So while this cell is selected, you hover over to this, which says paint format. What this essentially does is, whatever the format is of the selected portion, it copies the format of that cell, or it could also copy the format of multiple cells at a time. And then you can paste this format somewhere. So you see this is highlighted, which means if I click over here, the format of 1500 will change to dollar. There it is. So we entered the data for February and March for Kate. Let's populate some mock data. One of the ways to actually do that is to actually drag this down. So while I'm here, if I scroll to the bottom right of this cell, I see a plus icon. If I click and hold and drag it down, you'd see that it has copied all of the same months. Now, if you want to proceed with months in a month format, what you can do is select these two cells, come back to bottom right, and drag it down. In this scenario, Google automatically understands that you want the months to increase, and therefore you now have February, March, April, May, June, July, August, and so on and so forth. So we enter random data, Adam, Marcel, John. Let's take that and let's delete these things. Adam made a sale of 1200, Marcel made a sale of 1700, and John made a sale of 3200. We will select this and format all of these things in dollars. There you go. There we have it. Now we have this data, right? It looks good. We will start navigating this data a bit. We want to expand or decrease the size of the columns to make it look more nicer. So maybe we want to expand the size of this entire column. So if you come over here, you'd see an option. If you drag it to a little to the right, now the column is bigger in size. We want to make this column a little smaller in size. So we come here and drag this to the left. And let's suppose we want this to stay the same. We also want to separate the actual data from the column headers. So we select these three things and we go over here and we make it slightly bold. So it looks a bit nicer. Now we want to center the column headers. So we come over here while this is selected to the top right, go to the alignment and align it to the center. Now this is how the data looks like. Now we want to insert some borders to make it look even more nicer. So we select our entire data where we want columns to be bordered. We go to top right, we select borders, and we, let's suppose, want to have outer borders. Now we have outer borders representing this table. Or what we can do is we still select this, click on borders and click on all borders, which will produce borders in all of the cells within the selected data. So we click over here and you'd see now our data looks much more nicer. Now we further want to segregate this table from the data that it has through borders. We select this, we click on borders. Now we want to select this, but before we do that, we want to change the size of the border so that this table is formatted in a different way. We come to border style, we select a much thicker border than the one that we had initially put, and we click on outer borders. And now you see that we have an outer border range within our table. This is the basic navigation. You can do a bunch of different things. For example, if you want these things to have a specific color convention, you can select the entire data. You can come to format and you can click on alternating colors. It automatically gives different color coding to the data. And from the right, you can select what kind of colors would you rather prefer. Let's suppose we prefer this. And then you can further specify your color schemes if you want to. You click on done. And now we have the data represented in this way. So this is the basic navigation. There are much more things you can do within this. Feel free to explore it, such as changing the font size or the actual font, or even appending the data by wrapping it all together. Just experiment a bit and you'd get comfortable with it. Now that we have done some very basic navigation of the tool, we will advance into other things. We will first go into some very basic formulas. Let's suppose you want to know what were the total sales made for February through June. You can select the entire data, and then if you look at the top right, bottom right corner, you'd see that it shows you some kind of information. Right now it's showing minimum 1200, which meant that the minimum amount that was sold was 1500. If you click on this, you'd see different kind of quick analysis done for you already, such as average, min, max, count, and count numbers. We wanted to see the total sum, so we click on this, and now we know that the total sum is $10,600. Another way of accessing the same information would be in the following way. Total sales, and then we say sales in Q2. Now we need two things. We need total sales, and then we need sales in Q2. What we can do over here is that the total sales would be equals to 3000 plus 1500 plus 1200 plus 1700 plus 3200. We click enter and it gives us the total sale of 10,600. The caveat of doing it this way is that if you see, these values are hard coded, which meant you looked at the value, entered it, added a plus sign. You looked at the value again, entered it, and added the plus sign. Another way of doing it so that the data is dynamic is the following. So for example, Riz actually didn't make a sale of 3,000. It came to our attention that $2,000 were actually the sales of January, which were wrongfully recorded in the month of February. But so the actual sales for February are only 1,000. Now, if we change that, you'd see that the data hasn't actually updated. It's because we hard referenced the number 3000. So what we want to do is we want to reference these cells so that if the data within these cells change, the total outputs dynamically change accordingly. So for that, we'll delete that. We will open the formula bar again. In order to open the formula bar, you click on equals to sign on your keyboard. This tells Google Sheets that you want to have a formula. Now, sometimes Google Sheet is smart enough, and you'd see that it in gray is already giving you that, hey, sum C2 through C6. This is exactly what we want to do as well, but it understands what kind of data are you playing around with. We will not do that, we will do it manually. So what we want to do over here is that we want to go ahead and select this cell, C2, and then we want to add the next cell. So we will hit plus sign on our keyboard and select the next cell, hit the plus sign, select the next cell, and do it for remainder of the data. Once you've done that, we just hit enter and it has given us the value. Now what happens is that if you change values in these cells, let's suppose 34,000, you'd see that the data here has changed accordingly because the cells are now referenced. So whatever changes in the cells are done, it's reflected in your formula as well. We will go back. In order to go back, we just undo what we did. So we do undo and we have the data back again. Now, an easier way to do this would be we delete this again, we hit equals to, and now we want to do a sum because we want to add these things together. So what we do is we type in sum on our keyboard, sum, and we open parentheses. So we click on sum. Google Sheets has understood that we wanted to have a formula, and then it understood we wanted to have a sum formula. So it gave us options of different kind of sum formulas that are present to be used within Google Sheets. So we click over here, and once we do that, we just click over here, drag down until the last value. So it has automatically selected all those cells, and we hit enter, and now we have the sum. It's exactly the same thing that we did previously, but this is a more easier way to play around with data once you get comfortable. We go ahead and change this value to, let's suppose, only $200, and the value in this cell changes accordingly. This was a basic sales sum function we used to know the total sales that were made from February through June. Now, if you want to know what were the sales in Q2, we do the exact same thing. We open up the formula bar by hitting equals to. Then we click on sum. We type in sum, S-U-M. We click on sum. And now we go ahead and select the months belonging to Q2, which would be April, May, and June. So we select 1200 through 3200 and we hit enter. And now we have the total sales of 7100, of which 4600 were made in Q2. Now, if you want to see what was the percentage of the sales that were made in Q2 as opposed to the overall sales that were made, we can come to a random cell. And what we want to do is we want to divide the sales that were made in Q2 from the overall sales. So we open up the formula bar again by hitting equals to. We select the sales in Q2, this. We hit backslash on our keyboard, which is telling Google Sheets that we want to divide it by something. And then we divide it by the total sales. And then we hit enter. So what we did was open the formula bar by hitting equals to. We selected the cell that had the sales of Q2, which is cell F8. Then we divided it by having a back sign on the keyboard by the total sales, which was in cell F7, and we hit enter. It has given us the value of 0.64788 something. Now we want to see this in percentage because we know this is representing the total sales made in Q2. So what we do is we change the format of this specific cell. So let's suppose we are over here. We select this cell. We go to our navigation pane and we look for %. And we select this to have it formatted as a percentage. Now let's suppose you don't know where to find this. It's getting too overwhelming for you. You can just click over here and you can type what you're looking for. So in this case, we're looking for %. And it automatically tells you to, hey, number format %. If you hit this, the value here will change to a percentage. So this is some very basic data entry and formulas within Google Sheets. We have discussed how to open a formula by hitting equals to. We have discussed how to change the format of values to a currency. We have discussed how to insert borders. We have discussed how to have alternating colors. We have also discussed the drag and drop functionality of Google Sheets to have months in an increasing fashion. And then we inserted some borders to make our data look nice and well. And that's it. This is all for the beginners video. Once we move into the intermediate video, we'll discuss some more advanced things. So play around with data, have some mock data. You can just insert mock data by yourself, or you can actually search on Google to have some Google Sheet mock data for beginners, and it'll provide you with a data set that you can play around with. Now, before we end this video, I just wanted to also let you know that whatever you're doing in Google Sheets, as long as you're connected to the internet, everything is being saved by itself. So you would see over here in the top right corner in the document status, all changes saved to Drive, which means that this is saving in your Google Drive automatically. So you don't have to do anything to save the data that you have, which is a nice thing. If you're making some changes and you just exit Google Sheets, rest assured your data was automatically saved. We also discussed how to rename your sheet so you know the specific project that you're looking for. And lastly, we will discuss how to share this with others. Let's suppose you put this data together and you want to share this with another department or another colleague. You come to File and you click on Share. Once you do that, you click on Share with Others. You can just type in their email address and this will then get shared with those specific individuals. And you can click Done and they will receive a notification that you have shared a Google Sheet with them. In this way, you can collaborate with others as well. Lastly, let's suppose you want to take this data elsewhere to a meeting. What you want to do is you want to download or print it. So for that, once you have your data all sorted out, you come to File. You can either download it as in different ways, such as an Excel file or a PDF, which are the most commonly used forms. So you just click on it, it'll download in this specific format for you, and then you can access it from your downloads. Or you can print it as well. You click on print and then you select your relevant type of print that you're looking for, horizontal or landscapes and stuff like that. And then you can take a hardcore print of the same data as well. So that's it for this video. Thank you so much. In next video, we'll discuss some more advanced things. Ciao, ciao.